Every trumpet solo you have ever loved descends from one man. Every singer who ever bent a phrase around a beat owes him something. He was born in a neighborhood so violent they called it the battlefield. At 11, he was arrested and sent to a home for troubled boys. In that home, a teacher handed him a cornet. 50 years later, he knocked the Beatles off #1 at the age of 62. He sang about a wonderful world. He had every reason not to believe in one. He believed anyway. 55 years ago today, Louis Armstrong left us. This is the story of the boy from the battlefield who taught the whole world to swing. Louis Armstrong was born on August 4th, 1901, in the poorest corner of New Orleans, a district so rough the locals called it the battlefield. His father left before he could walk. His mother did whatever work she could find. By 7, Louis was working, delivering coal on a cart for the Karnofskys, a family of Jewish immigrants who fed him at their table. They lent him $5 to buy his first horn from a pawn shop window. He wore a Star of David around his neck for the rest of his life to remember them. On New Year's Eve, 1912, 11-year-old Louis fired a pistol into the air in celebration and was arrested on the spot. The judge sent him to the colored Waif's home for boys. No trial worth the name. Indefinite sentence. It should have been the end of his story. It was the beginning. The home had a brass band run by a strict teacher named Peter Davis. Davis saw something in the boy from the battlefield. He handed him a cornet. Within a year, Louis Armstrong was leading the band through the streets of New Orleans, past the very corner where he'd been arrested. An arrest that should have ruined him became the luckiest night of his life. How many turning points only look like disasters at first? Back on the streets, teenage Louis hauled coal by day and played dance halls by night. The greatest cornet player in New Orleans, King Oliver, took the boy under his wing, the only mentor Louis ever had. In 1922, Oliver sent for him. Come to Chicago. Louis boarded the train with his cornet and a fish sandwich his mother had made him. In Chicago, something historic happened. Jazz had always been an ensemble music, everyone playing at once. Then Louis Armstrong stepped forward, and the solo was born. With his Hot 5 and Hot 7 recordings, he single-handedly turned jazz into a soloist's art. One night, the story goes, his lyric sheet fell to the floor mid-recording, and instead of stopping, he sang nonsense syllables in perfect rhythm. Scat singing entered the world in that moment. His 1928 recording of West End Blues opens with a cadenza so perfect that musicians still study it note by note a century later. The Coal Cart Boy had become the most influential musician in America. The solo, scat singing, the very grammar of popular music. How much of what we call music did one man invent? By the 1950s, Louis Armstrong was the most famous musician on Earth. The State Department sent him around the world as Ambassador Satch, America's smiling face abroad. Critics accused him of smiling too much. They said the grin was a mask, that he never fought for anything. Then came September 1957, Little Rock, Arkansas. 9 black children were blocked from entering a school by an armed mob and the state's own governor. And Louis Armstrong, the man who never made waves, exploded. He canceled a goodwill tour of the Soviet Union and told the press the government could go to hell. The way they are treating my people in the South, the government can go to hell. It made headlines around the world. The smiling ambassador had shown his teeth, and it cost him bookings, sponsors, and friends. He never apologized, not once. The man everyone accused of smiling too much took the biggest risk of any star of his era. Do we ever really know who the brave ones are? By 1963, the music industry had decided Louis Armstrong was history. Rock and roll ruled. The Beatles were about to conquer America. Satchmo was 62 years old. In December 1963, he recorded a show tune in a single session, a song from a Broadway musical that hadn't even opened yet. Hello, Dolly. In May 1964, at the absolute peak of Beatlemania, that record did the impossible. It knocked the Beatles off #1, ending their 14-week reign at the top. Louis Armstrong became the oldest artist ever to top the American charts. He was 62 years and 10 months old. 3 years later, he recorded a quiet ballad that flopped in America. His label boss hated it and refused to promote it. It was called What a Wonderful World. Today, it is the most beloved recording he ever made, the song the whole planet plays when it needs to believe again. His most eternal song was a commercial failure his own label buried. How many masterpieces did the industry get wrong the first time? Louis Armstrong never stopped. Doctors told him to rest his heart. He booked more shows. My whole life, my whole soul, my whole spirit is to blow that horn, he said. In March 1971, against every medical warning, he played a 2-week engagement at the Waldorf Astoria in New York. On July 5th, 1971, he told his manager to book the band. He wanted to get back on the road. He passed away peacefully in his sleep the next morning at home in Queens, a month before his 70th birthday. 25,000 people filed past his coffin. The whole world mourned in one voice. Duke Ellington said it simply: he was born poor, died rich, and never hurt anyone along the way. The boy from the battlefield, the cornet in the boy's home, the solo, the scat, the smile that turned out to be armor and truth at once. 55 years on, somewhere in the world, right now, someone is hearing What a Wonderful World for the first time and thinking to themselves, what a wonderful world. If this story moved you, subscribe. We keep the great ones alive every week.